This is Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in Sacramento, joined today by Brian Jones. He is a member of the California State Assembly. He is celebrating sweet victory like many Olympians who celebrate victory.
I love that segue. That's
exactly,
a great segue.
not bad.
Great, thank you.
Let's talk about the Olympians of our great nation. When an Olympian wins a gold medal, a silver medal, or a bronze medal, what happens?
Well, a couple things, and the part that we all see is they're obviously awarded the medal on the national or international stage. And then the first thing that we do when we welcome them home is tax the winnings on their prize.
And we'll talk about that, but let's go back because I was not aware, sir, that gold medalists receive $25,000 from the U.S. Olympic Committee.
Yep.
Silver medalists receive $15,000, and bronze medalists receive $10,000, which actually is kind of low compared to other countries.
It's very low, and the other thing is our athletes are not professionals. They're not paid. They're not supported, by the government while they're there. Whereas almost every, not all, but almost every other country supports their athletes through the government.
How about this? In Russia, a gold medalist will receive $135,000. In Italy, $182,400.
I wonder what that Russian number equates to in American dollars.
I was going to say, but it's pretty remarkable the amount of money that some of these other countries receive. I think in the sense of America, I guess the point is more kind of a token. I mean, look, $25,000 is a lot of money, but
it is a lot of money, but it's when you take into account that these athletes are paying for their own training, they're paying their own way to the games. They have to pay for lodging. They have to pay for their meals. Heather Petrie, that was one of, she's a gold medal water polo player, was with me yesterday, recently when we did the bill. And she's telling me, by the time I pay all this, there's no $25,000 left. It's gone. And then I got to pay taxes on
and let's talk about that.
Yeah.
This, sir, I had no idea.
I didn't either.
That Olympians in California are taxed on that prize, the cash prize, but also on the value of the medal.
Exactly.
Good grief. Now, are they going to tax my kid for her AYSO soccer trophy?
No, it's not just here in California. It's nationwide.
Okay.
So if this passes, and it's passed its first committee,
that's where the congratulations is.
Right.
Let's talk about that because it was an irreverent tax.
Correct.
And look, you're a Republican, and sometimes it's hard for Republicans to get bills out of the California legislature. There were, what'd you say, 37 bills on irreverent tax during the day when this bill was being considered.
It was a long committee hearing.
And how many passed out?
I think 4 out of it, and I was one of the 4.
7-0.
Right. 7-0. So, it's based on a couple of things. First of all, it just makes sense. And I think that most of the members of the Assembly recognize that and want to appreciate our Olympians. The other thing is I've got a good relationship with the chairman and the other members of the committee, Ridley Thomas.
Oh, perfect. Sebastian Ridley Thomas.
Yeah, Sebastian Ridley Thomas. And so, that obviously plays into, a lot of what we do up here is relational. And you have to have a good relationship with those folks.
Indeed. How did you find out about this guy?
Well, it's very interesting, and I'm glad you asked that. I've had some staff changes because I'm termed out this year.
Yes.
So I hired a new scheduler and ledge aide, ledge assistant at the beginning of the year.
The other ones are looking for new jobs, right?
And so I told him, if you want to run a bill, find something to do. And I don't know if you remember Jeff Garrell. He tried this 4 years ago, and unfortunately it died.
Assemblyman from Ventura County.
Right. It died in Senator Probst that year.
Okay.
But we were still coming out of the recession, and we weren't sure.
Although the hit wouldn't be much. I mean, we should be so lucky there'd be 3, medalists for each sport in California.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's scored at about $100,000 impact for this year, which is nothing. Right. And then each year after that, it's less because the games are actually this year.
Of course.
So he brought the idea. Taylor brought the idea, and I said, let's do it. And he's been working it, running it.
Taylor Melody, I talked to him 10 minutes ago.
Exactly, yeah.
That is very cool. Okay, so you made it out of Rev and Tax.
Correct.
Now what happens?
I think it goes to a Probst next, and then to the Assembly floor. And we're looking to moving it over to the Senate, and then we'll start the battle all over again in the Senate.
Well, be sure to tell me what happens when you come back.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about another matter.
Yes.
And it's known as Prop 50.
Correct.
It will be on the June ballot.
Right.
And as we know, a couple of years ago was not the finest year for the California State Senate.
Right.
3 members were indicted.
Right.
What was interesting was all for unrelated crimes.
Yep.
It wasn't as if it was a sting,
Right,
and
yeah.
all 3
No,
were caught up in the
that's
same
exactly
thing.
right.
They each
Isn't that
had
amazing?
They each had their own transgression.
Right. Mutually exclusive.
Mutually exclusive of each other. As a result of their transgressions, the Senate suspended them. But because of the way the law was written then, they still received their pay.
Correct.
There is an expulsion possibility
That is correct.
today.
Right.
But, the presumption of innocence, we don't expel until there's a conviction,
Right.
be that as it may. Prop 50 is looking to change that.
Correct.
What Prop 50 would do is it would allow suspension as well as suspension without pay, correct?
Correct.
But you and Senator Anderson, both San Diegans through and through, wrote the opposition.
Right.
I read it in
Good.
my pamphlet.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised only because, I don't know, got like 4 or 5 no votes in the legislature, and y'all were one of them. But why are you opposed to Prop 50?
Well, look, what happened to those 3 senators should not happen in any state, and any elected official, if convicted, they ought to pay the full price of the penalty, and they are.
Right.
In the process, though, it's a smoke and mirrors thing. I mean,
That's what Joel said.
This is one. To be quite frank with you, is one party's problem.
They were all Democrats.
Yeah, and
but they could be Republicans in the future.
They could be, but in this situation, they weren't.
Right.
And it's smoke. It's they're trying to put icing on a mud pie,
right,
and make it look like something it's not.
And as I remember, in order for the ultimate penalty of the suspension, you're increasing the threshold to 2/3,
right?
Whereas it had been a 50% threshold.
Well, and I think to expel somebody, I think requires 2/3.
Right.
Also.
Today.
I mean, because that should be a difficult process to do. Is expel.
Aside
there's
from
a due process problem with this too, because as you opened with it, is innocent until proven guilty. Well, this assumes guilt before they're convicted. My contention is, you go through the court hearings, go through the indictment, if you're going to choose a trial, go through the trial. If you're innocent or not guilty at the end of that process, then you should not have lost your pay in the process.
But what should happen in the interim? I mean, let's say someone's charged. I mean, look, we'll talk about Senator Rod Wright. Rod Wright was convicted of essentially perjury on his voter registration, saying he lived outside of the district.
Right.
Similar case in LA County with Richard Alarcon.
Right.
That conviction got overturned.
Correct.
So Mr. Wright's conviction could be overturned.
Right. So it could be overturned, and I think I'm going to stick by my comments. As soon as that conviction is final, they should be expelled. But what about, not suspended, expelled.
But what about while the case is pending? Should they still serve?
Well, I think that was a unique situation that when there was 3 of them, so obviously it raised to the to that level of attention. If you got one person, 2 people, I think they ought to be able to serve. Because here's the risk we run now with the suspension program, and it's not going to happen while I'm here, I don't think, but down the road, you get a political force that picks on one senator or one assembly member and puts them under, it can happen. You get a DA or an attorney general that finds a way to put them under indictment.
Right.
Now the House and the Senate have the ability to suspend them without due process.
I also understand some of the concerns is that if there is a suspension without an expulsion, there may not be an election for 2-3 years.
Right.
And so that district would wind up receiving no representation,
exactly.
and nothing can be done.
And that's a big problem. Because really, a small portion of our job is what we actually do here in the Capitol. Right. A big portion of our job is what we do in the districts for our constituents that are having trouble getting through to EDD or DMV or whatever 3-letter acronym there is out there. They need our help to get in.
He's Brian Jones, member of the California State Assembly. I'm Brad Pomerance in Sacramento, local edition.